So it's been a while since we covered Peter at length. For those who are maybe watching this later on YouTube, sorry, by the way, for all the time I didn't put clips on YouTube. I'm back at it now, luckily, so that's good. While you were gone, or rather, while I was gone from YouTube, if you missed it, Peter has stopped making Q-related videos, which is good for Peter. Peter has decided, instead of covering politics, at least explicitly, he is going to cover medical issues. And what that basically means for Peter is that Peter is going to tell people to smoke weed every day and not take medicine. So let's take a look at what Dr. Peter has to say.
To set up the
Oh, he's going to make a lot of false medical claims here. I do not endorse them. What he is saying is false. This is for commentary and educational purposes.
goals for the next
Jade Raguba with 100 bits says, I wonder if CC thinks planes are figments of our imagination.
5 years. And one of them was by 2023, we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%.
This has always been misinterpreted by conspiracy theories, and this is something that has been said because what they're talking about is the fact that once you introduce vaccines into a given population, a developing country, the birth rate goes down because as the infant mortality rate goes down, so does the need to have many, many children. You also start giving education and materials for, like, contraceptives, making contraceptives available to people. You can do a lot of change that will decrease the overall population, or at least decrease population growth, specifically due to factors that we saw happen here in the United States and in other countries as they developed. This isn't some mysterious, threatening thing. They're not killing anyone. People are just procreating less as a country gets more developed and access to medicine. This is not crazy. This is not out there. This is just demonstrably factual.
I think today this dream is becoming reality.
They want more souls. I want less on the planet.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines...
The fun thing about facts is that if you have them on your side, you don't need to put sinister music over them to try and make your point for you, just to be clear.
We could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
How can you explain a 50% rise in all-cause mortality after the vaccines and boosters rolled out? They're basically suppressing the data showing the vaccines are killing massive numbers of people.
Untrue. Patently untrue. Every piece of research we have shows the vaccines are not only safe but effective against coronavirus. Please get vaccinated.
The people who have taken it are going to die in the next 6 months to 3 to 5 years. Millions have died.
Oh, this was actually a funny clip. I looked this particular clip up. This gentleman, I forget specifically what he said his name was, but at the beginning of the clip, he introduces himself and he says something along the lines of, hi, I'm such and such, I did this research at this university, and then he makes a bunch of bullshit claims about vaccines. People then went and tried to look for this guy and also called the university that he purported to work at. Surprise! They have no record of him existing. So, this is just some random jackass that decided to lie about credentials so he could get a viral clip out to anti-vaxxers. Discordant Vol says the Thomas Malthus Economic Forum. Just stop fucking.
Died from the jabs.
It's clearly a widespread failure of our immune system.
That's a clip from the X-Files.
Gene tampering, a virus within a virus that was put there through the smallpox vaccine.
The ultimate weapon, the ability to depopulate the planet, to kill everyone but the chosen.
By tampering with their DNA.
The jabs create spike proteins, and they create it by snapping your RNA in half. You are no longer a human anymore.
Yeah, that's not how that works. That's not how we define humans. What are you talking about?
You're something else.
I can prove that the elite are killing billions of people right now as we speak.
You gotta turn the music down when you start talking, Peter.
And that I predicted this over 10 years ago. and I can counter this attack. And when we counter it, we will create a paradise on Earth. And that's why I'm happy about this situation, even though it's equivalent of a comet hitting planet Earth. We will save humanity, we will create a paradise on Earth, and we will defeat these elite. My name is Peter the Healer, and they say...
Forgot he decided to call himself something different. It's no longer Peter's political perspective. He's Peter the Healer.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So let me dive right into the evidence. Here we go.
To set up the goals for the next 5 years, and one of them was by 2023 we will reduce the number of people in the world by 50%. I think today this dream is becoming reality.
Would you?
Jade Raguba with 100 bits says, very grateful for being up to date on my COVID vaccine as I currently have COVID for the first time. It's pretty mild compared to the early horror stories I've heard prior to the vaccine being available. Good, I'm glad you got vaccinated.
Just saw is the CEO of Pfizer talking about killing billions of people.
He did not talk about killing people, Peter. You fucking idiot. This is what... One second. So, I'm trying to imagine the worldview that Peter has, that there is a shadowy, secret cabal of some sort that is controlling everything, that is killing people with medicine, but then they also just get on camera publicly and say this? And he thinks he's the only one, him and a bunch of other anti-vaxxer conspiracy theorists, he thinks that they are the only ones who've noticed the people on camera expressly saying they're going to kill billions of people. Like, it's such a fundamental misunderstanding of how everything works. It makes me concerned that Peter has, like, a brain tumor. It's very strange.
He says...
Peter, they're talking about, again, lower birth rates, not killing people. No one's killing anyone in this scenario.
His dream, his plan with him and his buddies is to kill billions of people by next year. This is wild, the fact that he would say this publicly. And there's more.
Wow, wouldn't it make a lot more sense if you were misinterpreting what he said?
2 more videos of people admitting that they want to kill a lot of people. Check this out.
They want more souls. I want less on the planet.
What you just saw is someone from the World Economic Forum who is outspokenly calling for murdering billions.
No, Peter, how do you not understand how this works? If you reduce population growth, if you reduce the birth rate in general, then the population declines. No one has to be killed. That's just how life works because people die of old age eventually.
Of people and laughing about it. This is how the elite are. This is their game. They think that they're heroes saving humanity, and in some evil way, but in a good way, somehow they're gonna kill billions of people. But
the irony, of course, being that Peter's QAnon content involved him thinking Trump is working with aliens in order to kill all deep state members, which according to his own conspiracies would amount to hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. So, projection a bit.
But that kind of makes them a good guy, but really they know they're bad guys. These are twisted people, but they're...
Discordant Vol with 100 bits says, a lot of conspiracy theorists think that the elites are rubbing our faces in it. It's got roots in Nazi propaganda. A lot of things do.
They're laughing about it. They think it's funny. Killing billions of people, that's funny. One more clip.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
So,
again, he's talking about vaccines because when you introduce vaccines to a population, birth rates go down, Peter. This has been talked about time and time again. You could literally Google Bill Gates vaccines, and this would probably come up as a fact check because this bullshit that you are spewing has been fact checked time and time again. Peter gets off the Q. I think he's probably still into the QAnon stuff. He just doesn't want to make videos about it because I savagely make fun of him for it and, like, debunk every point he's ever made, I'm not gonna do anything different here, Peter. You're still wrong. All you do is jump from one conspiracy theory to the next. You are gullible, Peter. Please stop.
What you just saw is Bill Gates admitting that the population of the world is a huge problem and that we need to reduce it. And with vaccines, we can reduce the population. Wow. It gets crazier. Here we go down the rabbit hole. So here's the evidence that these vaccines are going to kill billions of people. Now take into account, it takes time for the full effect of the damage of the vaccines to kill people. And it...
Let's see, I've been vaccinated for at least a year now, Peter. I've been twice vaccinated and boosted, and nothing bad happened. It feels like you're probably moving the goalposts, because you used to say it was going to happen way sooner. So I'm going to say moves goalposts on the bingo card.
It's predicted, according to the experts, between 6 to 5 years will be...
Ooh, 6 to 5 now. And who are these experts, Peter? According to experts that I read on Telegram...
the full effect of the vaccine damage. And that's when we'll...
Peter... Like, the active stuff in the vaccines doesn't last that long. It does not. That's not how it works. The vaccine, the mRNA vaccines, like, get into your system, tell your body to start producing spike proteins so your body and your immune system, rather, can, like, learn to fight it, and then it stops, and then it's done, and then it's gone, and then it's just gone. There's nothing in my system anymore, Peter. There's nothing in my system that has anything to do with the vaccine other than the fact that my antibodies know how to fight COVID better. That's it.
We'll see billions of people dying. So it's not going to be immediate. If it was immediate, then everyone would panic and stop taking the vaccines. The plan wouldn't work. So the vaccines have to kill people relatively slowly. So let me show you the evidence. What I'm about to show you is
Today I got to the 1,000th Blu-ray in my collection, so if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I've achieved my life's purpose. Anadon Erahart, thanks for 17 months, says Telegram for all your furry and Q messaging needs.
Medicare data proving, and this is the most reliable data in the world, proving that the amount of people dying in the United States of all causes has gone up by 50% already. Check it out.
How can you explain a 50% rise in all-cause mortality after the vaccines and boosters?
When is this 50% rise from? Is it from during lockdowns and stuff? Because people not being out on the road as much, people not being out doing whatever, you're going to have fewer deaths. You're going to have fewer road-related deaths. You're going to have fewer drunk driving deaths. You're going to have all sorts of accident deaths that were unaccounted for, or rather didn't happen as much because people were inside. So if you're charting this from like 2020 to now, that would be why it's higher after the vaccine, because people are out and about again.
Rolled out. They're basically...
Who would I bequeath them to? Baja?
Suppressing the data showing...
If I was old and I needed to bequeath them, like, to someone else, if a library existed that had movies still, I'd probably give it to a library. Or, I don't know. I have a lot of films that I think are, I don't know. It would have to be somewhere where I knew they'd be preserved, because it's a lot of movies, and they're in really good shape, and there's some rare-ish ones in there, so.
The vaccines are killing massive...
They're not. There's no evidence of that. This guy's lying, or he's an idiot.
Numbers of people.
So there's two more sources who are...
Red Letter Media, if I'm dead, then Rich Evans has been dead for 30 years. There's no way I don't outlive Rich Evans.
Corroborating what the Medicare data is saying. Now, this source is the CEO of an insurance company who says that there's been...
I'm surprised Mike isn't dead yesterday. Have you seen how much that man drinks in those videos?
A 40% spike in deaths, which is something they've never ever seen before in the lifetime of the business. And here's the headline, and this was in February. And so the latest data, which is from Medicare, that's saying 50%. So as I predicted, and a lot of people predicted, it's going to go higher and higher, 50, then 80, then 100, and I think by next year we'll be hitting 1,000% increase in deaths of...
Okay, here's planted a flag, everyone. I can't wait till next year when he has to move those goalposts again.
all
Stonecaller Bell, thanks for 24 months. Happy second anniversary.
causes, but it's really caused by the vaccines, obviously, because they kill people in several ways. And on top of that, you also have more evidence. The CDC's own data, and see, you can see the headline here, and you can also see the graphs here. Their own data is showing spikes in deaths after the COVID shots, which is crazy. So you have...
He's just repeating himself, so same thing I said earlier. I would imagine it's because people are out and about more car accidents. Younger people are able to party more, so probably more drinking deaths. Society's getting worse in general and people are depressed, so probably a rise in suicides.
You have insurance companies, you have the Medicare data, and you have the CDC data, all aligned, all saying the same thing. There's been unprecedented, huge spikes in deaths after these COVID shots and jabs. And this is just the beginning. In the beginning, they want the damage from the vaccines to be a little bit less. And they want it to be...
Mass shootings, that's true. There have been a lot of mass shootings. That, I imagine, would only account for a blip, though. Is like as big as of a tragedies as though are, compared to, like, car accident deaths, there's a lot more car accident deaths. I'm not saying car accident deaths are a bigger problem, because context exists, but, I would imagine suicides and car accidents and stuff like that account for a lot more than shootings.
Be more later on, after maybe a year or two, after everyone's fully boosted and fully vaxxed. So by the time that crazy deaths are happening and they can't hide it anymore, it's too late. Everyone's jabbed. All these people are jabbed. They're all vaxxed. And then it's too late. So it's a slow death, but it's going to continue climbing. So this has never happened before in history. This is wild. And so the mainstream media, they're doing fake news, pushing all these...
To be clear, if the only people left on Earth were going to be anti-vaxxers, then I'd rather be dead. So I appreciate, the forethought Pfizer.
Articles to try to hide it, right? So they're saying like, oh, blood clots, that's happening from periods, and all these heart attacks, that's totally normal. What was it, like 20-something athletes have been dying from the COVID shots from a heart attack?
That's definitely not true.
So far?
I'm not even a sports person, and I can tell you that.
And then, so they're trying to hide it and make up all these stories. One of them is they've created a new syndrome called Sudden Adult Death Syndrome, called SADS.
SADS!
And they're saying, oh, we don't know why these people are dying. Yeah, there's a new syndrome. It's mysterious, and people are dying, but we don't know why they're dying. Guess what SADS sounds similar to? SIDS. What's
when you're posting Candace Owens things and showing Daily Mail articles, I don't think the evidence is on your side, Peter. Proof or shut the fuck up, Peter? That'd be great.
Sudden infant death syndrome, also caused by vaccines at birth. Oh, we don't know why these children we just pumped with 10 vaccines within the first 2 months, we don't know why they're dying, because they were just murdered by vaccines.
No, there's no evidence that SIDS is caused by any sort of vaccine or, post, birth care. There's no evidence of that.
And now they have the same thing, SADS, but for adults, people who were pumped with death jabs. So this is crazy that not only did these really, really evil people admit that this is their goal.
I don't know. Does Peter know that, unvaccinated babies die of SIDS?
Oh, they want to kill people. They want to depopulate people. They're going to do it with vaccines. And then you have all the evidence saying that it's happening. The mainstream media is trying to hide it a little bit. And so this is crazy what's happening.
Discordant Vol says, I read a study about SIDS. If I remember correctly, it was caused by insensitivity to choline. I have no idea.
But don't worry. I have a plan, and together we're going to...
Baja says the insensitivity to choline was seen as a marker in that study for kids who are likely to have SIDS, but not the cause.
to save humanity. We're going to
Baja Blast and the bingo card.
save billions of lives. So here I'm going to show you that I wrote a book, started writing about over 10 years ago, predicting that the Cabal was going to try to depopulate the planet by 95%. That was their goal, and they're going to do it with some form of biological attack, not with like guns or nuclear weapons. And so, as you can see here, this is a paragraph taken out of my book Cannabis Paradise, which
Of the people on the planet are murdered from technology designed to depopulate the Earth. The people who want to reduce Earth's population by 95% are not going to use nuclear weapons to accomplish that goal. They did that, then they would end up destroying too many resources. Villains want those resources, so they're not going to destroy people in that way. What worries us is we believe that these villains are going to use some type of biological weapon to kill most of the people on the planet. That way, the destruction from the global weapon will only destroy the resources and then presumably it goes on. Here's the problem, Peter. You seem to recognize that people that you consider evil in this hypothetical, the Cabal or whatever, would not want to destroy resources, presumably because you recognize the illogic of a plan in which you severely reduce your own quality of life, right? So sure, even if you were like your mind's evil version of Bill Gates who wants to murder a bunch of the planet for nefarious reasons to be king or whatever. Here's the thing. Labor is a resource, so if you killed 95% of the Earth, nothing would work anymore because you wouldn't have a labor force. Even if you had resources, who's going to mine the resources? Who's going to take those resources and refine them into materials? Who's going to take those materials and turn them into goods? Who's going to use those goods to provide services? Being the king of the castle doesn't really benefit you if the castle is empty and bereft of labor. Like, how would that work, Peter? If society collapses, rich people are also screwed.
Which was designed to predict what was going to happen around this period of time. And I actually predicted that around this time they were going to attempt to kill billions of people. And so I predicted it would be a biological attack. I predicted it would happen around this time. And I'm not the only person. Many people did. I didn't make this information up. I got it from reliable sources, and I predicted this. And
I like that Peter used to say what his sources were in his videos. But as I and some other people debunked his videos and looked into the sources he was using, I think he's stopped saying what his sources are specifically, so I can't go, let me look that up, and, in real time fact check him. It's even easier now, though, because all I have to say is, Peter, you haven't provided a source. You can't just say, experts say, because that's not a citation? That's not a citation, Peter. That's not how this works.
I knew, even though my book didn't sell a lot, I would be able to prove.
I'll buy your book, Peter, if you sign it for me.
That 10 years ago, this book was published in 2015, which was 7 years ago, but I started writing it 3 or 4 years before it was published.
He has multiple books, I think.
I was trying to warn people that they're going to use a biological...
The villains have been depopulating the planet slowly. The villains actually are planning on killing billions of people. In fact, they're planning on reducing the population by 95%. They can't kill all of the people all at once because they need people to build the things that are going to be used for the New World Order, Charlie said. First of all, terrible writing. Second of all, he seems to understand the labor issue, but doesn't understand the orders of magnitude off he is on the numbers of people that are necessary to keep the current standard of living for people. We live in a globalized society where we have a global, supply chain. If you killed 95% of the Earth, that wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work, Peter. You would not have labor because you would have labor, but you wouldn't have current society and you wouldn't have the standards of living we currently have because those standards of living are off the backs of billions of people working together through, networks of trade and labor.
Attack to kill billions of people. I wrote in this book. If you pause this video and read, I wrote it in my book.
I wrote it in my book. I said bad guys would do bad things, and now it's happening in real life. I'm Nostradamus. Rageology says that Charlie being quoted is actually Charlie the Unicorn. True.
We're gonna kill billions of people. See? It was gonna be a biological attack.
By the way, if you're writing a story and you find yourself calling the antagonists the, quote, bad guys, read more books, and then restart the book you're currently writing.
And they weren't going to use nuclear weapons. They weren't going to use guns because they want our resources. Don't think they don't want us humans. So here's the evidence I predicted it. I already showed you the evidence that they're talking about it.
MH Darkbeast with 50-bit says, wait, is Peter back? Howdy, Hannah. How does it feel to have Morbius as number 1,000? Not exactly something to celebrate as such a milestone. You know what? I'm excited. I also got Escape from New York and the Suicide Squad along with it, the James Gunn one. So, not a complete loss.
I showed you the evidence that it's happening. Crazy. So X-Files went up to me. X-Files not only predicted that they were going to use this old...
X-Files is a fictional TV show. Cites fiction as fact on the bingo card. Tucker White says, but Hannah, reading more books requires people to read a book. True.
Ultimate weapon to depopulate.
And that's why this episode is sponsored by Audible. It's not. I kind of wish it was, though. I actually like Audible. Should I get Audible as a sponsor? They're not too bad. Are they evil? Should I get sponsored by Audible?
People for the New World Order plan, but they predicted it would be done by editing our DNA with vaccines. Crazy! Check out this clip.
That's not even a new conspiracy theory, Peter. That's like an old conspiracy theory that predates mRNA vaccines being part of the public consciousness.
It's clearly a widespread failure of our immune systems.
Audible is Amazon. I hate to break it to you, but Amazon owns Twitch, which is the platform we're currently on. So, I'm already affiliated with Amazon.
Gene tampering. A virus within a virus that was put there through the smallpox vaccine.
The ultimate weapon. The ability to depopulate the planet. To kill everyone but the chosen.
By tampering with their DNA.
So I left the best piece of evidence for last. Here is someone with extremely good credentials who has bravely spoke up and informed people that the COVID shots are designed to kill
Jillyfish, thanks for gifting a tier 1 sub.
People in 3 different ways, and that millions have already died. And he also mentioned at the end that RNA was manipulated through the vaccines to kill these people.
That's not even old X-Files. No, that's from the reboot.
So basically, a mountain more evidence I'm adding to the evidence I already showed you that this is happening. And at the end of this video, I'm going to give you my hope, my plan, a gist of it, of how we're going to save people. But check...
Weed. It's weed.
Check out this clip. It's very...
Jubinator, thanks for 14 months, says, subhydrate? Sure.
Scary.
My name's Dr. Sean Brooks, PhD.
Again, people couldn't find him. At least not at the university he claimed to be from.
Oxford. I have 48 publications, including 23 books. I've studied health, medicine, anatomy, and physiology.
I think he chose Oxford specifically because it's like one of the 5 colleges people recognize as prestigious. Puka the Duca says, I don't know the X-Files was a documentary, and Nick says, Sean Brooks, pretty high, dude.
For approximately...
Okay, I'm gonna skip through this guy's shit because he just says the same stuff you've heard from anti-vaxxers before. Makes false claims about it changing your DNA and making you not humans, etc., etc. Bullshit. Okay. So what's your solution, Peter? Yep. Correct. Baha just said he claims to be a PhD but doesn't know the difference between RNA and DNA. Yeah, he's lying.
By snapping your RNA in half, you are no longer a human anymore. You are something else.
Even though Google, which is, I'm not sure, a trustworthy source, claims that 4.7 billion people are fully vaxxed and boosted, 5.1 billion, I've gotten at least 1 shot, even though this seems to be pointing in the direction of most of the planet is going to die from these vaccines. I'm hoping...
Is that what it points to, Peter?
When I'm excited. Let me explain why. The 3 ways these vaccines kill people. Destroying your immune system. Cannabis boosts your immune system.
No, it doesn't. Again, I've had this discussion before about conspiracy theorists. Hey, if you like weed, that's awesome. You know, weed in moderation, like lots of things, is a fun thing. I'm happy for you. If it helps you relax, have a good time. If it helps with chronic pain or whatever you're dealing with, great. Do it, as long as you are an adult as whatever, as long as it's legal, then do it. I don't care. That's awesome. I'm happy for you. It is not medicine in the traditional sense. There's no evidence it boosts your immune system. It doesn't like cure your cancer or whatever. I don't know why people are like this. You can like weed and also recognize it's just a drug. It's a drug. It's a drug that's mostly for recreational use. There are other uses if you're suffering from like severe anxiety, PTSD. I think it's helped some people with seizures, some people with like other neurological things, or side effects of things. Like I know people who are undergoing chemo have done weed in order to help stimulate appetite or to help with pain or whatever. That's great. That's awesome. And I'm glad that's available for people as an option. And I want that to be available for people as an option. But going out and making false claims about, like, curative abilities of something like THC is so patently irresponsible. Peter should be honestly put in jail. If Peter's gonna be making videos like this where he's going to make baseless medical claims, he should be put in jail for that. That's illegal. That's not fucking cool. That's basically pretending to be a doctor, and that's not okay. Nick says he's trying to use the university credentials to win over the crowd who thinks university is a communist Marxist institution. Galaxy brain move. No, because see, conspiracy theorists like credentials when they parrot the conspiracy talking points. Because then they can say, see, look, this person went to college, and they believe crazy shit. KBS says THC definitely boosts appetite and suppresses nausea. Beyond that, it has no proven effects. Yep.
Producing a cytokine storm.
Kino put out Reefer Madness on Blu-ray. Oh, they did. Kino. Golden Age of Exploitation. Kino put out, and this is just a quick diversion. I promise we'll be back to Peter in just a second. I'm very excited about this. Kino Lorber put out this set of exploitation films. It's a 13 Blu-ray set of like 20 or so exploitation films from the 1920s through the 1960s, and they were doing like a liquidation sale on these the other day. They were doing, you know, their big Kino Lorber sale, and I got them all. So now I own all of these exploitation films. I already watched a few of them, and they were pretty interesting. I know there's one about like test tube babies. There's one about child brides in like Appalachia. Reefer Madness, Sex Madness. Marijuana, weed with roots in hell. I watched that one. It was pretty interesting. Good stuff.
Which causes organ failure. And guess what?
Am I going to cover the latest goings on of the Negative 47 cultists? For those who don't know, those are the QAnon people who moved to Dallas in order to await the second coming of our Lord and Savior JFK and JFK Jr. They're still down there. It's been 7 months. They're still there doing their cult thing. I guess I haven't seen what they've been doing lately, other than I saw they once again were waiting in the plaza for the second coming, which of course didn't come. And I think they're saying later in the month is the next attempt where they think it's going to happen.
But cannabis stops a cytokine storm, and it rejuvenates your organs. And the third way is blood clot.
What? No, it doesn't. What are you talking about?
And guess which is the best anticoagulant?
Coagulant? And did he just say... Smoking is a vasoconstrictor, right? Is that only when it's like nicotine and tobacco, or is it all inhalation of smoke? Because if he's recommending people, in order to avoid blood clots, to smoke cannabis... That's the opposite of what you should be doing, because I'm pretty sure smoking is a vasoconstrictor. Again, I don't know if that's just nicotine, though. Let's see. Is smoking weed a vasoconstrictor? Let's see. As previously mentioned, THC acts by binding to CB1 receptor, producing vasoconstriction or relaxation. Vasoconstriction or relaxation, which varies according to the vascular bed involved, central, venous, peripheral vasculature, and its inherent properties. So I guess some of it constricts and some of it relaxes. Either way, it does not regenerate your organs, and it's not going to help you in any way about blood clots. and it might cause active harm in that avenue in terms of vasoconstriction, which is when your vascular system, like your veins, tighten, and it increases your blood pressure.
Medicine in the world. Anticoagulant means that it will stop blood clots from happening or fix
Anticoagulants thin your blood.
them if they are happening. Cannabis, of course. So God knew this was going to happen. And so he gave us this medicine to save ourselves. And in the next video, I'm going to be...
Zozo Horror Show, thanks for 18 months. That's a second sub baby. This sub baby's name is going to be Marijuana McJoint Pants.
Be talking about the solution, which is cannabis, and I can go into all the science. I'm going to show all the sources, and I'm going to prove without
like all the sources you showed in this video, Peter,
a doubt that cannabis will save us. So I'm going to be making a lot more videos about cannabis versus COVID shot, because this is really the most important topic in the whole world right now. But this specific video is just exposing the problem.
It's funny too, because the vaccine isn't even like a major part of public discourse at this point. It seems at this point basically the people who got it, like myself, like my audience, we got it, and then idiots like Peter didn't get it, and they're not gonna get it. It's shitty. I wish they would. I think it would be the responsible thing to do for themselves and others, but they're not gonna do it. So this isn't a timely issue, Peter. I'm assuming every once in a while there'll be a booster, or like a yearly shot, like for the flu or whatever, and I'll get it and you won't, and it is what it is. Move on, Peter. All smoke is a vasoconstrictor, but weed acts as a vasodilator after initial absorption. Gotcha. Tucker White says basically Peter's argument is...
smoke weed every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty much.
And proving that it exists, and proving I predicted it, and many people did actually, and that...
Many people are predicting that the cabal will use a vaccine, and it can only be counteracted with weed.
They're admitting that they planned on doing this. But I did mention that cannabis can solve the problem. Now, some people may have doubts, for sure, obviously, and that's because maybe they're not aware how cannabis is the best medicine in the world, and it's the most popular medicine in the world, and how it's got hundreds of
both are untrue
medicines in it. And some people like me consider it to be a panacea.
It's not. A panacea does not exist.
Well,
Discordant Vol says he just needs something to fix his life. If not Trump, then cannabis. He's just rubbing everything he can find on the altar. Yeep.
Let me explain. I will get into more information in my next video, which is going to be based on the solution. And the solution is going to have information, scientific studies that prove that cannabis will be able to save these billions of lives. Scientific studies that prove that the 3 ways these vaccines kill people, cannabis can protect people from all 3 of those things, which is crazy. But of course, God is a genius. And he knew this was gonna...
God is a genius is the weirdest sentence. I was kind of under the impression that God is supposed to be omnipotent and omniscient, which I think goes a little bit above the human concept of genius. But then again, I'm sober right now, and Peter probably isn't when he made this video, so... Nick says, it's not a panacea, it's a panacea.
Gonna happen long time ago, so he made sure we were able to protect ourselves. All we have to do is transition humanity off the big pharma cult, which is murdering people, back to God's medicine, which is cannabis and other plants as well. But cannabis is going to be what's going to save people.
I wonder how Peter's church feels about weed, considering they're so conservative. Stone Corbell says, is a genius like that's kind of an understatement if we're assuming an omniscient God, right? Overthought says, could God roll a blunt so big even he couldn't smoke it? God prefers edibles or dabs.
These billions of people from these COVID shots. And in the next video after that, I'm going to explain my detailed plan how we together are going to both save billions of people, and then we're going to turn this around and make cannabis even more popular to the point where there's cannabis hospitals and cannabis...
What that even entail? Welcome to the cannabis hospital. He is a joint. Here's a bag of Doritos, and there's a room over there with Netflix. It's got lots of colorful cartoons on it. You can go watch Adventure Time, whatever you want. And then your cancer will be cured. Rachology says, to give him the very slight credit he's earned, at least he's not recommending bleach as a cure-all. I know it's a low bar, but he successfully managed to clear it, unlike his hero. True.
Cannabis everywhere. Believe it or not, there's a huge silver lining here. They cannot hide the evidence.
Is weed legal in Peter's state? He lives in Pennsylvania.
That cannabis is the best medicine in the world anymore. They can't hide how powerful it is. Once people see how it saves billions of people, there won't be any denying cannabis is the best medicine in the world, and it will replace pharmaceuticals. And when that happens, we will enter a new era of healing, which is going to bring about a paradise, in my opinion, because once we stop being poisoned to death and actually heal ourselves and have incredible health, and everyone's mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically healthy,
it's decriminalized. So does that mean there aren't dispensaries? I'm not sure what that means.
That will bring a paradise on earth.
No, Peter doesn't live in Texas.
Especially compared to what's happening right now.
John Doyle lives in Texas.
Which is hell. They're trying to kill
so no legal sale, but you don't get in trouble for possession, basically?
Billions of people. So I'll get...
That's a weird way to do it. You're basically just making... you're just making drug dealers more money, which I don't care. I'd rather be decriminalized than, you know... Pennsylvania's medical only? Okay. Just legalize it. Who cares? Stop wasting time and money and ruining people's lives. Afterac with 1,000 bits says Pride Month hype and also birthday month, but that's meh. Well, thank you very much for the bits.
Get into more detail about the solution and my plan for all of us to work together to save these billions of lives in my next 2 videos. But I just want to give you a gist because I don't want it to be all doom and gloom in this video. I want to give you guys hope because this is actually a very exciting time. We can work together. We can save the world. We have meaning.
Peter's psychology is so interesting in that his major drive appears to be like some sort of like savior complex. Like it's... I don't know how to explain this. He almost has main character syndrome where he thinks that he has some ultimate purpose in life. Like he watched too many movies as a kid or something and he thinks he's this chosen one that inevitably is going to come to change the world or help save people or be a part of tackling some great evil. It's very interesting. It's a complex he has that comes into everything he posts, whether it's the QAnon stuff or this. He feels the need to cast himself narratively in this role as a hero, and I wonder why that is. I wonder what is causing him to have that psychological need. Tucker White says, yeah, Izuko Midoriya Peter is not. Overthought says, part of me thinks he's setting this up for when Pennsylvania does go full legal, build up the base, open shop, and profit. First name bunch of numbers, thanks for 2 months. Even if he were to and could open a dispensary, I don't think he has the money for that at this point, but even if he could, he couldn't be making these medical claims. That would still be illegal. And he'd probably actually get noticed if he started doing it in a brick-and-mortar store. First name bunch of numbers says main character syndrome, but why? But with Daddy Trump as the actual main character. I'll dub it side character syndrome.
We have purpose. We can do this. We can do it. I believe in us. God believes in us. If you ever wanted redemption for past mistakes, you ever wanted to save millions of lives, you have that power to do that now, just by sharing information and by helping people heal with cannabis. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. This is the most important video I ever made in my entire life. I really appreciate it if you share this because people need to be aware of this problem. It's a huge problem. It's the equivalent of a comet hitting Earth. This is catastrophic, but we will unite against these elite. We will save billions of lives, and that will prove cannabis is the best medicine in the world, and we will create a paradise here on Earth. Thank you. This is Peter the Healer, and God bless the world.
You know, I'm glad Peter's back. I really am. Don't get me wrong, I wish he just wouldn't do videos at all because it would be better. He's spreading misinformation, but to be fair, he doesn't have a very large audience. More people see him through me, you know, pointing out where he's wrong than see him just spewing his nonsense. either way, if he's going to be around, I'm glad he's not doing the QAnon stuff currently. And, I don't know. I just don't. I hope he's back to making regular content, though. Because he is entertaining. Anyway, let's move on and take a look at the bingo card real quick.